Hi folks, so it's Lick of the Week number 4. This time around we're looking at a bit of funk rock and specifically the use of the tremolo bar, whammy bar, vibrato bar, which is probably what it should be called, but whatever you want to call it, we're looking at a bit of technique with that and how you can sort of scoop and swoop into and out of notes. And this is something I like to do with some of my solos to give them a bit more of a vocal quality. Think Jeff Beck, Joe Satriani, Steve Lukather, any of those guys that use the trem, they tend to have a very sort of vocal guitar sound with their solos, so that's the kind of technique I'm kind of pulling from. So once again, let's crack on. Just before we get started, once again I'm going to briefly touch on the guitar and amp, or in this case amp model that I'm using. So yeah, you guys will have probably seen this before. It's my Schecter Super Shredder Sun Valley something or other. To be honest, the name is so long I can never really remember it. But the Helix amp model I'm using is the Brit Plexi Brt channel, which is some sort of Marshall Plexi, with a Analogman Prince of Tone model Overdrive going into the front of it. So overall it's quite a high gain, pretty meaty sound. Okay, lots of fun there. Gear aside and out the way, let's crack on with the lick itself. So, it's based around the very familiar, at this point I'm quite sure, minor pentatonic 1 shape in D, just up here. Now, the first 2 notes we're going to pick out in this lick are quite distinct because of our use of the vibrato arm here. Apologies if you don't have one on your guitar, but for those of you that do, bear in mind that it's not necessary to have a Floyd Rose to do this. The only thing you need is a guitar with a floating tremolo system on it, because you're going to be doing pushing down and pulling up, right? So you need it to go in both directions freely to do this properly. So the first note we're going to do is this C, which is the 13th fret on the B string, right? And what we're going to do is swoop into it. And we're going to do that by having the bar down before we pick the note, okay? And then we're going to release the bar when we pick it. So it's going to bring it up. It's going to rise up to the correct pitch. Like that, okay? Now when we actually do it, we're not going to take our time. We're going to probably get into that note quite quickly, not like a slow rise like that. Where it gets interesting is where we're going to go next. So the 12th fret on the G string, we're going to do the opposite. We're actually going to have the bar up and release it to bring it down to the correct pitch, like this. Just like that. So the first and the second note are kind of employing the same technique, they're just going in opposite directions. So you do need to be quite quick with your right hand to get there in time, okay? Now, some of you might be thinking that it's not a million miles away from the Hendrixian lick that I showed you guys. It's not really, it's just with that you're using your left hand to do the same kind of job, right? So you can see the similarities going on there. The next part of the lick kind of uses a pull-off technique to get down to the 10th fret of the G string. So you'll have just released that note from coming down on the 12th fret, and then you're going to release with a pull-off. Then you're going to go down to the 12th fret on the D string, and then kind of do the same thing without any vibrato bar action, okay? So like this. Then you're going to come back up to the G string on the 10th fret and hammer on to the 12th fret, and then come underneath and play the 10th fret on the B string, and then back down to the 10th fret on the G string, like this. So let's get to that point slowly. So you can see where the hammer-ons and pull-offs are going on there. And the only two notes that come after that in this particular section of the intro I was playing for this lick is the 12th and 10th fret on the D string again, down at the bottom. So you've got this. So we're kind of starting on the 7th and finishing on the 7th, right? The C in both cases. Now you can see there that I was adding a sort of optional, and it is optional, but an optional pinched harmonic. And to do that, if any of you are really interested, you kind of touch the string after you've plucked it with a bit of the flesh of your thumb right after you've plucked it, okay? And depending on where you touch it on the string, it will give a different harmonic. Okay? So, yeah, just lightly touching the string. Don't keep it on there because otherwise it won't ring out, right? You've just got to touch it. And it should, hopefully, if you're doing it correctly, ring out nice and squealy. So, I'll show you guys the whole thing again one more time, nice and slow. And this is it a couple of times up to tempo. So I'm hoping you guys with vibrato bridges out there can make some use of that. Here's to a bit more tasteful and creative use with your vibrato bar as opposed to just dive bombs and squeaky noises. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I still do it sometimes. If you're one of those guitar players out there that doesn't currently have a guitar with a vibrato bar on it, think about it. It could expand your playing style, it could influence new creative directions, it could just add to your playing in general. It's good to experiment with different guitars you haven't tried before. Right, housekeeping time. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you can catch videos like this and anything else that you'll enjoy. If you fancy some guitar tuition from me personally, one-on-one, you can get in touch with me on my socials, which I have linked, as always, in the description below. But until the next one, folks, stay safe out there, stay positive, and stay musical.